Greetings, brave souls. Hello and welcome. I'm your GM in the Great Barrier. We are back today with some Star Trek adventures, specifically part 4 of our current adventure on the shores of Ogygia. Before we get started, just a couple programming notes. Let's see. We should be, oh no, my programming notes all deleted on themselves. So instead I'm just going to use this window here, as I don't believe there's too much to note or too many difficulties. I'm just going to throw a shout out to some of the friends of the channel, particularly the good friends at the Architects of Fate, whom I have worked with before on their Cookie Trek show. They were nice enough to have me on at one time, and they run a lot of other tabletop content on Twitch. They're posting some of it to YouTube as well. Just the shout out to let you know they are, at least on Twitch, getting very close to one of their follower goals, as I understand it, with up to about 500 there. So if you if you want to take a look at some similar tabletop content, they're a place to look. They have actually quite a diverse array. I definitely recommend it. Likewise, for those of you that are watching the archive or that are just coming to join us on Twitch and aren't following, we are one away from our follower goal of 100 here. If you do follow, it gives you free access to our Moopsy emotes, which we have just a very cute array of little guys that you can send into other people's chats and, drink their bones, do whatever you wish. It's once the Moopsy's out in the wild, I don't control what you do with them. Just bear in mind, use your Moopsy responsibly.
Moopsy.
So, yep. With all that, let's go ahead and jump into the session. I will handle just a brief recap here, and we will get started from there. So, the Aegis has arrived in the Veldonnan system. It had journeyed here after being thrown wildly off course and heavily damaged by an ion storm. This after you had already been running from some pirates trying to take a shortcut through a nebula. The storm briefly incapacitated the captain.
I got her a mug, the first season of her favorite show.
Oh. You are a little... Mike's a little active there, Cheesy.
Sorry, I've been having trouble turning it off. Every time I turn it off, it keeps going. I apologize.
Yeah, quite alright. So...
Best to use the Discord mute button.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch to that. I apologize, guys.
Quite alright.
No worries, man.
So, the storm had briefly incapacitated the captain and forced Commander Shira to make the decision to go there. You proceeded there because it was the world that was at least unlikely to be outright hostile, although all rumor had suggested it was either at the very least extremely reclusive, and at worst held some sort of witches that would enchant or eat or do something to anyone that trespassed in the system. The Veldonnans seem to have been eminently reasonable from the first encounter, though they nearly turned you away at the start. You were able to eventually come join them. They've helped you make repairs, allowed you to have the crew take leave. It was a pleasant experience up until they decided they weren't going to let you go. It sounds as though the Veldonnans have a rather unfortunate habit of keeping those who do come and whom they actually allow to get to the planet, not allowing them to leave. We have at this point adopted the canon. There is at least one Klingon on the planet who is a very pleasant gardening type. In any case, you've been trying to figure out the best way to make it off the planet. The Veldonnans seem to have a good understanding of your intentions, as you've figured out they are empathic and telepathic to varying extents, and as such, it would make any type of hostile action very difficult. The solution you've happened upon, or the best one, seems to have come from interactions between the ship's resident diplomat, Mr. Marcus Horn, and the diplomatic officer, the Proxina, by the name of Callus. She has told you that, in addition to explaining the situation, she has told you that it would be possible to address the Council of Ministers in order to make an appeal. This is essentially a legislative body, democratically elected, that directly hears these that would directly hear these sorts of appeals and could grant you special dispensation. So much of the last session was essentially determining your strategy, and it has been a few days while Callus has taken the time to arrange that, but the day has come upon you. So where we will pick up sort of in the immediate time beforehand, we will have the crew grouping up in a garden just on the grounds of the capital, in the capital of Sindriel, and very specifically, very near the dome of the dome-like capital structure, beset by columns around it. It is surrounded on the end. I'd say on three sides by a remarkable bit of green space and walkways. There is a more direct approach from the city. However, Callus had suggested that you take some time to enjoy yourselves a bit restfully, as you had in the days before, just as an extra calming measure to help you before you come before the chamber. She has not joined you yet. You understand that she was coming she had to go and handle some additional business, but she was going to come and rendezvous with you a few minutes before you needed to be brought in, so that she could help you out a little bit. So I'll let the scene start initially with the 6 main player characters, with Romanov very temporarily NPC'd. Out on a pleasant morning on the capital of the Veldonnan homeworld, and around this star system that like a week ago you would have known only as Beta Zeta or Beta Z. So, first question here: how's everybody doing in character?
Panic.
Definitely would have sharp. It's definitely put herself as clean and respectable as possible. Hasn't drunk anything afterwards, and made sure any hangover is not a big deal. So she's looking sharp and ready.
Yeah. So we've got Sharp being Sharp. Shira a little, was that panicked or nervous that I heard?
That was Xantar.
Oh, Xantar panicked. How's Shira holding up?
Slightly panicked.
Shira's a bit impatient, a bit frustrated. Has had to see Romanov doing a hunger strike. That's been a bit worrying. Has been having to manage the captain, who's been apparently intent to go off the rails here with some alcohol. So yeah, not been having a great time.
Xantar has just been like hyper spraying like IV fluid into Romanov just every so often. Like, oh, look over there.
Yep. And the worst part is that with her hunger strike being present, she is currently less able to swat away your hypo attempts.
Helpful.
Yeah. it does inhibit her reflexes a bit. For her part, after considerable coaxing and a few direct orders, Romanov has, at present, and I stress only under NPC direction, she has finally agreed to play on her best behavior for the at least for today, and is just taking some time to meditate. Although she's not been shy about the idea of saying that, like, while she will concentrate her mind and like keep her composure as much as she can, she will not drop the sense of betrayal and sort of general feeling of injustice over the fact that she feels imprisoned on this planet.
If she wasn't going to, she was going to have Alonso uh, sit her down and like start force feeding her food. Sharp was rather.
Yep.
So
All right. Let's see. Going on down the line a bit further. Marcus, I'll save you for last here. So we'll come back to it in a moment. Xantar panicked. Remora, you know now that the well, this has been your first session back, Cheesy, since the Veldonnans had basically said that you are going to be captives, and it's been, I think, 4 days at this point since that announcement came, and the crew has been steadily formulating how they are going to argue before the government to seek this dispensation. So, with all of that in mind, how do you think he's feeling right now? Cheesy, now you can unmute.
There it goes. Sorry. He's feeling very wary. He doesn't like being forced onto a place. He doesn't like the thought of imprisonment. This isn't his first time getting close and being imprisoned, so it's just something he doesn't want. He's probably looking around as he travels through the planet, trying to find some information that might be helpful for the argument that's going to be coming forward.
I see. Yeah. So I will allow for some sort of lore check later on if you so desire in order to help out with that. But we'll tend to more of that later as we get things worked out, and after we tend to the last member of our crew in this scene here. Marcus, how are you doing right now?
Marcus is strangely comfortable with the entire situation, which is not probably what the captain suspects due to potential present company. But yeah, like for the fact that they're imprisoned, it's kind of like enforced holiday.
yeah,
So it's pretty much the attitude is if you can't change the heavens, so make the best of it.
that's fair. Did I die? Hello?
Huh? You're right.
Oh, sorry about that. That
Okay.
was my mic. Would you guys like a moment to talk a little amongst yourselves before Callus arrives on scene? Anything you'd want to do
All
amongst each
right.
other?
Yeah. The captain turns around. All right. Since I have Lotso babysitting Romanov, let's go over a quick review of what we are approaching the appeal court with, the houses with, whatever council. She out of character. She would phrase it better. It's Peter stumbling on his words of which board are we talking to exactly?
Council of Ministers, I think.
Council of Ministers, right? That
Yes.
okay? Yeah. Let's review what we're going to be approaching the council's ministers with.
I think honesty was the prerogative.
Be honest while we're out here exploring. Be honest about the dangers and all the good things as well.
I mean, I was tempted. Like, this is like, Horn gives a better example, but like Felix's example is like what Pike does in the one diplomatic episode. Why you should join the Federation? You shouldn't really.
Radical empathy.
Yeah, kind of just like brutal honesty. Like, these are all the downsides. What we're asking of you. Make up your own mind.
Sharp pauses and kind of just like shifts from one foot to the other. Not a bad idea, but perhaps a little less radical honesty there. At the very least, telling him that we should stay in here is probably not an incentive, a muscle we want to push. Exactly, Horn.
That humans aren't a very good species kept under captivity. I'm
I
just
mean,
saying.
historically speaking, we do rather not well in captivity.
So I've seen from medical logs, history logs that I've
Depends.
examined on the ship.
Depends on the culture. Sometimes we do a little too well. She says. But regardless, I agree. A bit of honesty that we're here for peace, we're here for friends and allies, and we're here to explore, and that they should do the same. Especially being surrounded by so many unfortunate individuals. They don't offer them as much. We're here to do as such. And sure, we're not perfect, but nobody really is.
The nobody's perfect defense.
Tell that to the
You're the diplomat, not me, Horn.
Your honor, nobody's perfect.
You'd be surprised. Could work.
I mean, more or less.
Also, Captain, I just wanted to make sure you're informed. The crew seems to be adapting well to the environment. Any foreign bodies, the immune system of the crew seem to be fighting off. I've taken a
Good.
few stimulants myself, but I'm doing fine as well for now.
Also good.
The well-being of the crew, on the other hand, there is a general concern, as is to be imagined, but psychologically they seem to be optimistic about our chances dealing with the council.
She looks over to Shira, and the Makos aren't being currently overly creative, are they?
They're being
Patient, hopefully.
as patient as you'd expect them to be.
Yes. Luckily, we are being supplied with a good food and drink and fairly comfortable, which is helping with the crew, but they are a bit restless.
Well, for the moment, this is the short-term goal. It's talking to the council, and probably will be, if it doesn't work now, it's going to work. We're going to try for the next couple of years. If not, we're going to do the long term. What the long term is, well, I have a long term of figuring that out.
Best to think about that after.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, concerns?
What should we do should we fail to appeal?
I just said that.
Well, but worry about that after the thing, after the appeal.
To put it simply, we will continue to try to appeal as diplomatically as possible. This is more or less a misunderstanding, and certainly
Don't think it's a they know what it's not a misunderstanding.
Yes, they seem to be fully aware of what they're doing. My apologies, Captain. I was merely asking for more of an understanding of the human nature.
I hope that I can work toward a peaceful solution than a violent one. I don't want to create more enemies, and this is certainly somebody who certainly someone who doesn't need more enemies.
They seem to see enemies where there may not be any, though I can sort of understand their isolation.
Well, with the Tendarans, the Tendarans, the Cabal,
Cindy.
the Klingons, and the Syndicate. I think the problem is that they're so used to seeing enemies, they don't know what friends look like anymore.
Hmm. And they may just see themselves as safer, at least just as someone with my condition will be feeling safer in a sterilized room locked by themselves.
Hmm.
Or in one of the EVA suits. They are
But
surprisingly
eventually, a
comfortable.
germ will find its way in.
Oh yes. Unfortunately. And like as like Yuri says that, Xander will bring out his spray and just
I mean,
rub his
Yeah,
hand.
quite frankly, the good doctor has actually quite a good perspective on how they think.
Yeah,
Because they
Sharp just
perceive
sort of,
danger where there isn't not necessarily one immediate danger, but he still ventures forth.
as she always say those words, Sharp just was slowly rubbing the bridge of her nose and kind of giving a pointed, disapproving look at Shira about causing poor Xandar's having a panic attack.
Shira's just got a small smirk. She's got to find. She needs to find some amusement.
I feel like Jira
days.
then like pulls out a brown paper bag and hands it to Xander just briefly.
I mean, while we're on the topic, as this might be helpful in the upcoming hours, Santa, why did you decide on a career in medical in the first place, and to just go on exploratory mission in the second place?
Well, for the first part, one of my parents were doctors. I ended up helping them out with a few cases, and after a rather terrible incident on my planet that ended up with a terrible disease, I had a little more motivation to go into medicine, let's say. And exploring, well, I had heard about another doctor that of my people that had joined up with the Federation and serves on the USS Enterprise. And so I thought, it would be maybe I could do the same.
And your germophobia didn't hold you back?
Oh, it did. Took me a while to actually sort out the forms and get myself into a sane enough position, but I've found ways to cope. He indicates to his spray. Definitely helps with my psyche, and but there are ways to allow the mind to persevere. Another admirable quality that I'm finding in humans and others. As he looks at Shira and Cheesy. I mean, Romero. Remora.
Remora.
My apologies, that's my dyslexia coming out again.
Well, glad to have you here, Doctor.
Thank you, Captain.
I think at this point it might be narratively appropriate as general warm feelings settle over you from the conversation that Callus comes round the corner. The diplomatic officer, or Proxina, as you understand the rank and naming convention amongst the Veldonnans, comes at a decent stride, maybe walking just a tad bit faster. That it's something that, I don't know. One might say she either very much has a sense of a place to be, or or just the sense of something driving her gait that little bit faster. That she slows her pace as she approaches you. Captain, Mr. Horn. Good. I see.
Proxina.
I see most of your senior staff are already here. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Is everything ready?
Yes, I have received final word. The council is sitting about its early business the motion to hear your appeal is going to be part of the... it's going to be part of the business coming up relatively soon. I've secured every necessary clearance and procedure in order to allow you through, in order to be heard. As many of you may go up to speak as you wish. However, I think there's an expectation that all of you would at least be relatively close, and, well, I do hope that there... Well, I know that I can't ask too much of this, but you understand, of course, thoughts of antagonism may cause some consternation to those in the chamber.
It's
We
okay.
kept that in mind. We kept that in mind, and Lieutenant Commander Romanov is unfortunately ill, as it were.
I'll behave, she says, just like very slightly.
One moment, Captain. Now, just apply more
Oh,
sedatives.
is Romanov with Alkir? I thought Romanov was being duct taped somewhere. Okay.
Yeah,
Xantar's-
she's right here.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Xantar's been administering sedatives every few
All
minutes.
right.
Yeah.
It's a Mr. T situation all over again.
Oh dear. In any
Yeah,
case.
I am sure. Let me redo that then. She'll say, I am sure that all of us will behave in the greatest capacity as anybody would in such a privileged...
Privileged?
In such a... It's out of character. My words, not the Cap be a lot better about this. In a honored meeting. There we go.
I'm sure that you will show the appropriate decorum here. I'm just trying to provide that extra word of caution here. You will be observed from the moment you enter that chamber. Not just in actions, but to an extent in thought and feeling.
Understood.
How are the this probably has come up like in the days before already, but like what's the cultural so now I'm struggling for the word. What's the cultural perception of like digging too deep with like your I don't know words anymore.
Emotions or thoughts.
Yeah, but like there must be some norm, like you can't just go digging. You can't help catching superficial stuff, but you know what's rude, what's not done.
Delving deeper into...
Yeah, kind of what's the cultural norm on that?
Within the nature, particularly of this ritual, they won't be trying to delve too deeply into your mind. Indeed, we generally, when with those who are otherwise peaceful or or whom we have no indication of them being a bad actor, we generally avoid any deeper probing in circumstances like these. We do have certain requirements of due process for the time for those times when outsiders come up, or in the very rare instances where crime comes upon our world. Our empathic understanding of each other, our awareness of the thoughts and feelings around us, actually goes quite a good way towards discouraging that amongst our people, and those who have been guests long term. With that being said, deeply held thoughts should, by and large, be, unless they come to the surface, then it is less likely that the council would broach that. Indeed, I don't suspect that any would try to try to make a concerted effort to read that. there may be some probing insofar as they assess the honesty of your statements, or they will keep a very careful eye on anyone who might dissemble if they feel that that is an issue, or if it is an especially important question. Thus the reason why I stressed the avoiding a bluff, if that makes sense.
With the council, would there be any attempts to poke the bear, as it were? I don't know what the proper Veldonnan colloquial is, but
Poke the really big sleeping predator.
try to instigate emotions or feelings that they want, that are deeply bound.
You mean
as
pull a
well.
Romulan?
What's a
Poke the
Romulan?
Out of character, you know what I mean.
Yes,
It's
yes.
basically they're just trying to get a response out of us.
Yep.
An instinct, an
Deception.
emotion, a thought.
Antagonize.
Yeah.
Oh no, I take your meaning, and I can say that they will definitely try to provoke the strongest reactions they can. In doing so, they think they would get closer to the truth.
Any individual in particular who might be quite antagonizing, or definitely wants to keep the curtain down, as it were.
There should be. I did find out the ministers that will be leading the query. As per usual, in a circumstance like this, the lead minister does, or our prime minister does take the initiative on the questioning, and they are decided by two other counselors picked at a random rotation. The prime minister, that would be one Dalera Graham. She, I would say, is a very even-tempered leader. Someone who would be... I'm not used to commenting on politics with those outside of... in professional circles, I should say. But I would say that she's considered eminently fair by most people. She looks around for a moment, even though she would have an empathic sense if anyone were actually around. I voted for her the last time, so I'd like to think that I have a pretty fair sense too. The others, well, I can say that Munex Agentia is a little bit more concerning. She's advocated for a bit of a harsher line. She tends to be a hawk on outside intervention. So I would expect a little more provocation on her part if anything were to come up. The third I don't know as much about. Kobar Odutan, he is... Well, he's an older hand, a bit of... what exactly... I'm not sure exactly what this would translate to on your end, but he's been more of a... He tends to work a little more behind the scenes, or he's relatively minor, despite his, despite his age, he's always had a very sort of quiet career, advocating well enough for his constituency and sort of being a deft-handed compromise, but he's tended not to show up in these proceedings before, so I honestly couldn't say what direction he would go.
Is there any reason that he doesn't show up to these proceedings?
He's just genuine. Generally, he's not articulated much of a view on the affairs of outsiders, preferring more work on the domestic front.
So, should we be concerned that he might abstain, or just simply be solid in the status quo, as it were?
It's very difficult to say. Even amongst my people, he's a little more difficult to read. Tends to keep his thoughts very close and very controlled. He could be swayed either way, potentially, or he may have his own convictions that tilt him in a particular direction.
She'll nod. Well,
But I will say that those three will lead the query, but the ministers in general will conduct a vote in order to. Will conduct a vote once the appeal process has been completed. They generally try to get it all taken care of within. They decide on a relatively expedient basis. There may be some room for debate afterwards, which they will likely dismiss you for as they discuss the deliberation, as they deliberate on your status. But we could hear back as early as within the day if the process, or depending upon how long the process takes.
will this meeting be closed doors, or will it be for public viewing?
Is it televised?
Media tends not to view these proceedings, at least visually speaking. There tends to be prohibition on those circumstances, although there may be some that follow these news stories and may be around to take a record of this. It is otherwise open to the public. There will be some open public seating, a few seats in case any of the nobility were to ever show up. They tend to be more in a private booth setup, though.
Of course. Zach, I have a question.
Yes.
So canon, they were more leaning toward matrinal society. Do I still see that in does Sharp see that through television programs and otherwise?
I would say that all of you have noticed a bit more of a matriarchal bent in the society. I think that in the few days you've been here, you definitely pick that up, however much media you're consuming.
Is it like 21st century sort of angles, or are we talking like mid 20th century angles of gender politics here?
I'd say that in some ways it's mostly closer to our own, or like more along that line. The key thing I would say is that while there's still like a matriarchal bent to society, it doesn't. I would say that like such that it might be in our own culture to the inverse. There's no those that tend to vote more along that line. It isn't out of a disregard or dislike or disbelief in the ability of of an opposing sex or gender in this situation. The betas value difference. They value everyone's talents pretty well. I'd say that while maybe there might be some very traditional sectors such that the residual nobility is like that, I'd say that the society generally feels
95 cents to the dollar as opposed to 75 cents as it were.
I'd say that's a fair description.
All right. Okay.
Well, if you are ready, I can go ahead and guide you into the chamber.
no time like the present.
Yep. So, Callus will lead you through the garden, through the green spaces to the large domed building at the center of the grounds, surrounded by the similar array of like small towers and the with the outstretched like outcroppings at their base, almost like a sort of one might think an imitation of something flowering in one respect. Um, you are guided to the large domed building through through a section of pillars. I honestly, when I think about this, a part of me thinks a little bit shape-wise of like the Great Senate building, like out of, in particular, for some reason, Star Wars keeps coming to mind, and the like out of the
No, that's
prequel
fair.
trilogy, and like the initial entrance is it is arrayed in columns as such that I think of the Chancellery from the same sort of building where like one could conceivably like hide amongst them if they were so possessed of it. Although
See, I was thinking about like the Naboo Palace and Phantom Menace.
that might be closer in some ways. I
I
think.
thought that's more appropriate.
Yeah. Well,
Just because Beta Z is or Veldonnan is very much traditionalist, and I could see them trying to keep it as much as possible, despite the technology.
For purposes of headcanon here, we will say that it hews much more closely to that, and that there's indeed a great hall of pillars that you initially enter as you approach the main Capitol building, but with much brighter colors, with more of like the more clay coloring and interspersed greenery, probably vines climbing down, but in such a way as to be artful and to add a further bright ambience to the approach. Indeed, you know that while this section is fairly thick with the pillars, one could conceivably hide among them if they were to try, but and everyone would know who is there, or they would feel them just instinctively. And furthermore, it is so brightly lit that anyone trying to pursue with like some sort of subterfuge, it'd be difficult to see, or rather, it would be easier to spot out because more difficult to hide.
As they past the main foyer, the captain will slowly come to a stop and look around for a moment, kind of spacing out for a moment.
You okay, Captain?
Fine. She smiles. Sorry. Let's continue.
Can Zenta try and get an idea of what happened with the captain there, like nostalgia or more just?
Well, you probably have a medical scanner on you if you would like. They did not take away any equipment, so I suppose.
Oh no, he's doing that. Xantar is doing that always. But more on he wants to more check on a psychological nick.
I'm not gonna make you roll it. It's nostalgia.
Okay.
Granted, you could roll for a little extra momentum, since that would.
I'm happy to do that as well. I do have psychology, counseling as a focus, so could get us a bit more momentum.
Okay, well, I think I will set this to a difficulty of. I'll raise it just to a difficulty of 2, despite your training, just because.
Human. Yeah.
Speaking of, that momentum counter should currently be 3 right now. Otherwise, threat counter is up to date. That's just for Friend Zone stream here. But yes, that would be insight plus medicine.
Here we go. Hey, there we go.
That is
Nice.
2 successes, which means that Shira, you may draw a point of momentum at your leisure,
Cool.
since that generates that.
Nice.
Peter, you want to give us any insight into?
Like I said, it's just a fair bit of nostalgia, and wonder. As if she's thinking about some memories into the past, of something probably familiar. She actually kind of like looks in certain directions, as if she's been down those hallways before, or probably knows where those hallways go, maybe. But
Almost like a deja vu sort of sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
Almost like a deja vu sort of sense.
almost like a deja vu sort of sense. Yeah.
GM.
God damn it! They changed the Matrix again. They're onto us.
GM. Before coming aboard, I think Xantor would have had a look at sort of the personnel files. Is there anything in the captain's personnel file that might indicate her being in these in something like a senatorial building as before, or was she attached to Earth's governmental system before?
I will say, Panda, you can correct me on this, but the best records, such that you had any access to them, don't suggest anything quite like that. There may have been, like, one moment where she might have occasionally been at in a government building on Earth to accept
I mean,
promotion here.
she's married. She's married to the daughter of the intelligence general. So yeah,
Okay.
probably has. By the way, she record-wise, she is a urban kid. Had
Ever
two
been in
parents.
court?
Huh?
Ever been in court on trial for anything? That might be relevant.
A few things, but nothing in like a big majestic sort of way. More
Okay.
municipal.
Cool.
You know, teenagers do what teenagers do.
Yeah.
Oh man, Sharp was
did
pulling
what
the
with the
hot
season?
rod affair.
Uh-huh.
You did what with the shuttlecraft? Like we talked about that incident.
In any case, ushered through the relatively bright halls and feet landing on reflective marble flooring, you do notice that as you get deeper into the chamber, the ambience begins to shift. Going through the outer hallway is a much brighter sort of affair, something outwardly very visible. You will eventually, crossing through the pillars, enter the first set of doors, and instead of the lighter tan sort of semblance, you find yourself in a hallway running like, oh jeez, what would be the best way to place this? So I'd say that for starters, you find yourself in a general sort of very grand corridor, one that appears to be bent round in a circle. Basically, something running on. You could imagine that, basically, you are in an inner circular zone, with the core legislative chamber at its center. The ambience of this chamber, although still invoking many of the same sort of motifs, so still there are like some elements of greenery. There's very majestic sort of stylings of columns and iconography. The colors actually tend towards being a bit darker. Like there's a lot more sort of deeper grays and darker beige tones. A bit more artificial lighting working its way in, although some windows do allow light inside. It is a noticeable shift to a slightly darker grade, essentially. Callus guides you the moment you step through this chamber towards your left. And as you walk alongside her, she says, this will allow us entry into the central chamber where the council will be convening.
Thank you for bringing us so far.
Yeah. So look around. Is anyone disquieted by the shift? I'll ask real quick. Vibe check.
Rumor is not digging the bright light.
How many lights are there?
She'll glance back and say, it really is okay. There is something of a, the choices here were deliberate, in terms of their symbolism. Indeed, the capital, as much as we think of ourselves as meant to be symbolic of everything that we stand for in terms of how we value our openness, our difference, and yet how we are, yet how we as ourselves are somewhat layered. The outer chamber is obviously most reflective of that which we put forward to face, and one that tries to be as welcome as inviting as possible. The further in we go, there are darker motifs that actually begin to take hold, or something to reflect more privacy of that which we keep below but are willing to open to others. The original chamber is actually, well, aside from being the darkest, it was actually, if rumor has it, it was constructed around a much older sort of meeting place for the nobility of Veldonnan. One made out of a naturally occurring formation of a dark marble-like substance.
They certainly have a fine taste in architecture, I will say.
Well,
For the captain's just more focused and definitely appreciating everything, but it's not intimidated or offset.
just try to remain calm and understand as we enter the main chamber. The dark, such that there's any darkness, and is more to reflect the depth and contemplation of thought that occurs at the core of ourselves. And that we invite people inside to understand ourselves, to share our thinking, and that at the end of the day, that we act in a way that others can understand, and that would be best. That is best for all.
She nods.
Okay. Well, rounding the corridor and finding a way to a set of double doors, Callus says, "I will be around, but I will not be able to join you on the platform. Well, I can't say anything to you directly," she says.
Come again?
I cannot say anything to you directly.
Oh,
You're not our advocate, as it were. I understand.
But
That's why we have Mr. Horn here, she says, patting him on the shoulder.
well, I wish you the best of luck, and my thoughts are with you.
Always appreciated.
She'll nod and open the door and allow the 6 of you to enter the chamber here, which, let's see, very quickly, going to try and shift this over.
Did anybody else get the feeling that she's gonna help us mentally?
Of course not. She's not allowed to speak to us.
Exactly. She said directly.
Mm-hmm. It's quite unfortunate.
We'll be fine.
Yes, yes. Everything's fine. Everything will be fine. Nothing's on fire.
We don't have our weapons, huh? As we're...
Nope, that is a bit of standard equipment that you do not have access to right now.
We still have these hands.
And any inanimate objects.
Somebody grab a paperweight. Okay.
Why are all the paperweight stickers here? What's going on?
I have a hyper spray with a lot of sedative, just saying.
All right. So,
Light it again to Romanov.
as you are ushered in to the chamber, you find the central chamber is a rounded sort of high domed setup with the walls mostly built seemingly from a very darkly colored marble-like substance, etched with a variety of not murals, carvings or sculptures portraying what appear to be various scenes from the history of Veldonnan. The shapes also seem to include numerous crests and emblems, which you could guess constitute the great houses of Veldonnan. The wall, this is mostly concentrated, at least on the carving end, to one end of the room where the chairs at the bottom level are construed. There's more in the way of murals in the side of the room that would be our camera perspective from what you're looking at. So, like, we're looking at the forward end behind us, and kind of on flanking sides to the left or right would be more murals. It's also more broken up with galleries, some larger public ones that would allow spectators to be seated and view the proceedings. There are a few isolated boxes, which mostly seem to be darkened. There are a couple that are illuminated, but have a set of curtains that is obscuring whomever might be up there. As Callus has said, that likely suggests some members or representatives of nobility are present. The darkness of the chamber is broken up in part by major light sources that kind of shine in on this dark inner sanctum from different places. The first would be at ground level. There is quite a bit of illumination, something kind of bluish white, and allowing the tables with the various speakers, the members of this council, to be well illuminated, to be able to speak clearly and address each other. The other major light source comes from the top of the dome, which appears to have a sort of crystal structure at its top. Whether by nature of just how the sun is pouring in, or some tinting within the crystal, or perhaps some sort of glasswork, the rays from the top tend to come in a very warm yellow, orange, golden color, casting a sort of warm illumination across the top of the section and sort of providing a warm glow of some sort of friendly ambience outside. Something to break up the darkness of the like surroundings in the meeting hall otherwise. So you step in from the left side of the auditorium here, or the council chamber, and Callus, who cannot follow you all the way here, does guide you and like basically establishes there's seating on this side, and that when they call you, that you, well, whomever among you wish to be up there to speak, to handle this, would be able to head up there. There's sort of an elevated podium in this case for you to make your cause. It is surrounded by various flags which represent both nations of the United Veldonnans and of some of the great houses of Veldonna, that something to conform to, like some of which match the banners that are on display. So, let's see. With all of that, as you guys settle in, as the assembly quiets down a bit, the Prime Minister, at a central table, or convening at a central table, something relatively near the podium, in a position to where if you were, those of you who will be standing there would be easily able to address her. There's obviously like microphone setups and everything. She says, the next order of business has been moved and seconded. We are now prepared to hear the appeal of the crew of the, she checks her notes, Earth Starship Aegis. The representatives of their crew, who wish to make an appeal, rise to address the chamber. She'll glance over in your general direction. Who among this crew would stand to appeal before us?
What's the form of address? Which we probably have inquired before.
Yeah. So it could be, I think in this case, as she is, I'd say that they hew fairly closely to something like an equivalent of Robert's Rules of Order. So it could be, you could go, of the honorifics you could go with, you could play it as simply as Madam Chair, or you could go Madam Prime Minister if you want to go for the proper honorific. Something along that line.
Yeah, then, I mean,
You aren't bound to it necessarily.
Yeah, that would be me, Madam Prime Minister.
Very well. You and those whom you might wish to bring up with you may address the chamber. So I can move you in a position. Marcus, did you want anybody alongside you?
Not right now. Is this like just a straight up address, or is this like more like a hearing? Because I got like a hearing vibes before, but this sounds like I have to give a speech, and I don't have a speech written out.
Fair enough. She will stand up and she'll actually begin by clarifying. Mr. Horn, or rather, like she'll look over her notes. So, you would be Marcus Horn, as I understand it.
It's correct.
Yes. And I understand you have had a chance to speak with our diplomatic officer. It is with the understanding you have some knowledge of our customs. Obviously, we have much information from what we had learned previously. You may still make a statement if you so wish. However, we would generally prefer to proceed with questions, and simply try to learn more of what you would wish to say. We wish to learn more ourselves here and come to a decision on a fair basis. Would you object to dispensing with any prepared statements and simply allowing a query?
As we all know very much why we are here, I would agree to that.
Very well. So, with this, the Prime Minister leans forward slightly. Says, "So, Mr. Horn, obviously we know why you are. We know why we are all here and why we are in this chamber today. The question is, why are you here?"
Is this the time for jokes? Is the question.
It is always the time.
Go for
Let's
it. Go.
Do it.
What is it? What are you doing so far from your homeworld and your crew?
Well, why is the Aegis here is the broader question. Well, we are exploring. It's what we do. It's what humans have always done. When we settle down enough to actually look into the distance, we go out, we explore, we see what's behind the horizon. And since we have fairly recently made our way to the stars, it's, well, this entire galaxy to explore, so. And this is just the neighborhood, so. Why wouldn't we be here?
She'll nod and say, well, a very high-minded goal, especially when you are heading out so much further beyond what others have explored, but you didn't come to Veldonnan because you wanted to say hello or chart a star system.
Well, not exactly, no. We came, well, it came exactly here because we got caught in an iron storm, and since we were already in the neighborhood, we thought we could get some help and some essential fixes to our ship and then be on our way again. I mean,
Glancing
why
over,
not?
glancing over some notes as you explain this. Yes.
Friendships have been made over less. I'm losing words today. Why is my brain so bad? Over less strange circumstances.
I don't know if, even if I didn't have some semblance of, well, I don't need to read your thoughts to know that there's a little something else to that, and that the Aegis certainly wasn't making friends before that ion storm hit. The report from the Veldonnan Space Guard shows that some of the repairs being conducted to your ship were necessary due to what appear to be decayed energy strikes, essentially use of disruptor technology against your vessel.
Oh yes, we had a run-in with some pirates. Nausicaan, I believe it was. At least the ships were Nausicaan.
Is the Aegis usually in the habit of picking fights, Mr. Horn?
The habit of picking fights. Well, do we go out looking for trouble? No. Do we find trouble? Yes. Yes, we do. What happens when you go out?
I am going to ask for everybody's vibe check, starting with Marcus.
Comfortable? Like, not a single lie was said or uttered? Or thought?
Yep.
Captain's also comfortable, confident in my diplomat, and certainly she hasn't heard any lies so far.
Shira's happy with the start Horde has made. I guess it's why we brought a diplomatic officer along.
Yep.
Don't talk about the mistakes. Don't talk about the mistakes. Don't talk about
So many errors.
So many errors. Xandar is feeling a little more confident after Horn's words.
So, the Prime Minister Graham will grin and say, "Well, I can't begrudge you that. I don't doubt that you and the Aegis have found yourself in unenviable situations before. But maybe that's a partial result of what happens when you go out and explore."
Yes, it is. It is. Well, we are stumbling a bit in the dark. That has to be said. Galaxy is a big place. This sector of space is a big space. Yeah, he's kind of there's like the hesitation before that. Okay, well, it is like
Space is big.
yeah. So
I imagine there's like a bit of laughter in the chamber.
yeah, he's like a bit like it's like yeah. I wish I could have found a better word. So we find ourselves in unfortunate situations. There are sometimes misunderstandings. There are many situations we could have handled better, especially in hindsight. That's what we try to do. Sometimes you just stumble upon pirates. Kind of stares a bit off into the middle distance, like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, I mean, he probably knows at this point, like, you have seas, you have a history of sea travel, you just... It's a risk. It's a risk that we all face in these strange waters.
An apt metaphor, she says. And going as she goes over her notes, well, Aegis stumbling upon pirates. I suppose there's likely to be some such problem that one would encounter. I do have to wonder if they whether you. Sorry, let me rephrase. I do have to wonder, though, if you were so desperate as to try to, well, if our best readouts suggest you cut through a nearby nebula and went to warp and were caught within the ion storm a short time afterwards. Were you being pursued at that moment?
I'm not sure if we were actively pursued. We were worried about being pursued. And since we have literally just started a multi-year exploration mission, we did not want to have pirates on our trail right from the beginning. So we took a plot-relevant gamble. And, well, this is the result. Which still up in the air if it's good or bad.
As the Prime Minister is weighing this out, the minister to her left, an older woman, whom you realize would be Minister Ogygia, jumps in on this. Yes. Quite the gamble you did take trying to come here. And if we were to let you out when you are being pursued, if they were to catch up to us, you would if they were to find you and be able to cause you problems in battle, if they were able to capture you, or find any information, you would know a great deal about us now, wouldn't you?
I mean, I don't know if I would call it a great deal, but you do know some things. But as far as I'm aware, is that people and pirates already know about this place. It's where they are, and I do apologize. But I think it has been referred to Debbie Witches.
There are a few more laughs in the chamber, more subdued than the earlier space comment. The Minister Agensha will bridge her fingers and rest her chin forward on them and say, "Yes, we've cultivated something of a reputation. One of the reasons that we keep our planet and our people secure. That and the tireless work of the Veldonnan Space Guard. And your leaving would have something to say about this place and about its people. Would it not be, would that not risk dispelling such notions?"
Well, concerning pirates, I think if we were attacked and overcome by pirates, their and our concerns were least of all on your beautiful place and more on our survival and their enrichment.
I don't doubt that you would. I don't doubt that your. I'm seeing OBS as reconnected. I'm so sorry, everybody. Something appeared to have gone wrong there. We should be back here.
Can we take a quick 5-minute break?
Yeah, let's take a quick break here, and we'll kind of pick back up here in a moment. I'm going to. Okay, for any of you that are with us in the live stream right now, we're going to take a quick break. We might backtrack on this scene just a little bit here, and yeah, we'll get back to it. I'm gonna run some ads very quickly. Set for intermission. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see here.
I was
That's
not
a George
informed about
Lopez?
commercial breaks. Come again?
Okay. Hey, everyone. Sorry about that momentary lapse. We had an issue with our system here. For some reason, the bitrate got all crunchy, and we momentarily lost the stream. But we are coming back. We are going to very slightly run back the scene here. I think I'm going to snooze the ad that's coming up so that we have a few more minutes to get back to that. But we're going to pick back up in the darkened chamber. I'm going to try and edit this part out as much as possible. So, Minister Munax simply retorts to you, I have no doubt that that you would be fighting for your survival if you left this place. My concern is either that, out of some desperation, that you might divulge the secrets of an exploratory vessel, some valuable knowledge in exchange for your own survival. Or, who's to say that they are not moved by that and simply force the issue, pulling the information from your own memory banks after they've defeated and captured your crew.
I mean, that is a concern. But there's also an easy solution to that. Friends.
The three of them, the three ministers just kind of look to you a little bit. I think that Greyhen is going to tilt her head just a little bit. Very much like, while they're not saying anything, and you don't feel any thoughts popping into your head, the body language suggests say more.
Yeah. There's, and I'm not entirely sure how much you know about what's going on in the sector, so excuse me if I repeat some information, but the Andorians and the Vulcans have just come out of the war, and they need some time to settle their differences and get on agreeable terms again. It's the whole history to work up over. The Andorians and the Tellarites, while they have never been on too friendly terms, are thinking about the future as well. And everybody in the area is thinking about the future. I don't know how to better say it, but space, despite being big, is getting busy. And the same, I'm sure, happened on your world when nation states started to crowd together to look at the bigger picture, to look outwards instead of inwards. Everyone in the area is looking where they can find new friends, new partners to go into the future. And I mean, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But we humans are great at making friends. Like, just look at this bunch. You've seen the crew roster. If you are interested, if you are aligned with our goals, we tend to not care too much where you're from. It took us some time to get there. Absolutely. But
We're still getting there. The captain mentions.
yes.
Apologies.
No, you're right. It's you will find humans who have absolutely no interest in anyone not human. Just as well as you will find members among this crew who will not be very happy that you can listen into their thoughts. Don't know if that's very human, but we generally like our secrets. But we also see that working together gets us further than being alone. And that partnerships, friendships like that can require as much or as little as everyone agrees on. Maybe you're just pop in once in a while, check on if everything is okay. Maybe you need a cup of sugar, or maybe you just head out together on a journey. That's how we got here. And I tried looking a bit into your history, but that's too much for a few couple of days. I hope you understand. But I'm sure there were many nations that weren't too fond of a unified world, that wanted to keep their own separate fiefdoms. That works for a while. But the world, just as the universe itself, is it's unfair and uncaring, and we have to band together.
A compelling argument here, and as such, we are going to do our first roll of this, for you have stumbled in to the extended task to persuade them of your intentions. This is going to be a magnitude of 3, which means the difficulty will also be 3. The work track on this task will be 12, and it will face a resistance of 2. So the first stage here in this social conflict is going to be to roll against them. You will be given a, you will be allowed to make a presence plus command task based on your performance there, Felix. I'm going to say that Marcus may have an additional D20 to roll for this.
Yay!
That being said, I am also spending a point of threat, 3 points of threat, rather, for the captain's interjection there.
Captain.
It's about honesty. Listen! Listen!
I am increasing your complication range to 3, although the captain may also assist.
Oh,
You can
Alright.
you can buy a. We've got 4 momentum to spend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I'm definitely buying 1 die, which brings me to 4.
Nice, nice.
Should I buy a second die and go for the full 5?
no.
What's the
That's a
what's the
lot.
difficulty on the roll?
It is
3.
contested against the ministers, which I am adopting the squad combat ruling, or kind of applying it here. There are 3 of them, so they will, for this amount, it would roll 3 dice. Basically, just for reference, the quick start guide for Star Trek Adventures First Edition, which is free on Modiphius' website, it details that if you are playing with miniatures, or if you are in a situation where there are large numbers of characters in play, in order to simplify things, you may treat like a miniature or grouping as a squad, where a squad is to represent like between 2 and 4 individuals. You can just, and they have the same stats, you can effectively use them as just 3 or like you can count that as having an extra D20 when they roll a task.
So, use your determination, man.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm going to use my determination for the autocrit and just try to nuke them right from the start.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm trying to do here, I'm going with believe 6 impossible things before breakfast.
Acceptable. You're definitely trying to shift sensibility, their sensibilities here.
Determination for the autocrit. I buy 1 die for 4. Presence command. Focus, diplomacy works? Hopefully?
Diplomacy would definitely apply here.
Okay. Then I don't think I can trigger anything else. Difficult complication range. Check.
So, I'm going to roll the ministers. Okay, so Marcus, the let us resolve the roll first. That is, for you,
Wow.
4
Okay.
successes.
Oof.
6 with
That-
the autocrit.
Yes, 6 successes with a natural 20 as complication. I will say that the ministers rolled. They only rolled 3 successes between them. And actually, there's a second complication because the
Yeah.
threat spend applies to the assist, and the captain rolled a 19. So, let's go through this in sequence. Yes, let's. Everyone groan first.
Honestly, I think we take the threat and just buy off the other one.
Yeah, I will say you guys have 3 points of momentum incoming from that roll.
Oh yeah, we can buy them both then. I
Yeah,
guess.
so the first question, Marcus, you've rolled a complication. Do you wish to A, accept the narrative complication, B, ignore the complication and give the GM 2 threat, or C, buy that off with 2 points of momentum?
I mean, I hear the siren call of narrative complication.
So I have.
I think I might be overruled here.
That's right.
Hey, this is always the. I leave this to the complicating player's discretion. That is why, as
Narrative,
as
Felix.
Cheesy will know, his fiance is always the person that will go for a narrative complication, regardless of the situation.
Yeah, you know what? I
They're
think
fun.
it just, I think it just fits very well, because Marcus made some great points, like with the autocrit and everything. But there's also probably some things could have worded better, or maybe should have said a different point. So yeah, I'm happy to take it and take a narrative.
Okay, so the first complication will be a narrative. I'll bear that in mind here. The captain also rolled a complication. Panda, would you prefer to accept the complication? Would you like that to compound on top of Felix's? Or run
No,
separately? Or would you
I'll,
want to buy it off? Or just give me the threat?
We have momentum to buy it off.
So yeah, I'm gonna buy it off, and then I get a momentum back because of backup plans.
Very good, very good. So we'll just say then, let's see, you had 3 momentum incoming, I believe. Or no, wait, let me run the count.
I mean, I don't want to
points.
like.
Go ahead.
Isn't it like rules lawyery question maybe? But the roll was a success. I thought backup plans is only for if the roll failed.
Or an ally fails. Person
It
rolls
didn't.
or an ally fails.
But we didn't fail.
cast.
We succeeded.
Oh, okay.
That's-
Yeah, the roll.
Yeah,
No,
so-
you're right. You're right. Okay, you're right.
Sorry. Backup plans is one of those talents I still need to familiarize myself with more.
Yeah, I'm just always want to be careful with rules because they will be used against us as well. So
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So,
Though I have a question.
yes.
So, technically, Marcus bought a die. Do I get cautious command?
I let me take a look at the wording on this. I think that Marcus would need to have cautious technically for cautious to apply. Yeah, I think that attempting a task kind of rules out an assist here because you didn't purchase it yourself.
Okay. Right. Sir.
So, with that said, the proper count would be that you had 6 successes, so you beat them by 3. 2 of those were spent in order to buy off the complication from the captain. That will mean that you should have 4 points of momentum. I have the counter reflecting that. Really, I didn't take it away from Marcus's initial spend of momentum there. But the point is, you should be up to date there. Craig, if you haven't already drawn, you can do that. Very good. All right. So I'd say that. Let me take one moment to cough here.
How does that get us on the extended task track? It's like extended task, I still can't wrap my head around.
Yeah, it's hard.
I've never been able to understand it, frankly.
Basically, well, if it helps at all, I've heard people explain it the inverse way for those who have trouble with ship combat. Extended tasks are basically the same mechanic that you use to knock down ships, because you are rolling a task, you are rolling what in combat is damage dice. Here it is just work dice for your task, and the damage is effectively basically you're trying to get a certain number of breakthroughs, which are the equivalent of like breaches to shields. So you're wearing them down in this situation, and you either fill out the work track, the social shields drop as they were, or you breach their logic sufficiently to where they have to concede the argument and strongly consider your position. That being said, Marcus, the effective damage that you are doing here, or the work that you are doing, would be challenge dice equal to 2 plus your command discipline.
That would be 7. Total.
So also you can use momentum to ignore resistances or reroll.
I would
too.
also, since I have the cold reading talent, if I'm succeeding at a task during social conflict, yada yada yada, if the social conflict involves an extended task, the character gains the scrutinize 1 benefit.
What's that?
A very good question, and one of the reasons why I keep the one of the reasons why I'm very happy with the folks over at Modiphius who were nice enough one time to they were running a Star Trek Adventures tabletop game, and they were holding free giveaways for a Roll20 compendium of Star Trek Adventures, which I was very lucky enough to receive on one stream. So definitely guys, check out those. They have, in addition to all the useful source books.
I think that's piercing, essentially. Scrutinize. The character ignores X points of the extended task resistance for each effect rolled. Ooh, spicy.
Yep.
Nice.
So the momentum may not even be necessary there. You can roll your challenge dice first and see what that is. Just remember, input the number 7 to the challenge dice, and then press enter before you roll.
You can also add work dice too with momentum.
Add what? Oh yeah. It's true. Should we add dice, or if roll first and see what happens?
Let's double check that, because I think that you can do additional work, but I don't think that you
before reductions are just it's repeatable increased work done by +1 for this task before reductions for resistance. That's what you put in the little chart.
Yeah, so it's just basically adding a +1 to whatever you roll, and then we evaluate resistance after we see what the total work you've done is. So let's see where that goes first. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 6 points there. That would be a 2, a 1, and 3 effects.
And I'm ignoring 3 resistance.
Yes, with the scrutinize effect in play, you are ignoring all the points of resistance, so that is enough to fill up more than half the work track, and to actually that is enough to fill up the work track and to score 1 breakthrough. So your initial speech causes some murmurs through the crowd. There's maybe keen observation of human or humanoid understanding that you are there. It body language expression. You see that there is a moment of slight discordance when the captain chimes in, but these people otherwise seem quite interested in what you have to say, and that it seems as though your work is going to be considerably... well, like, these people seem somewhat open. Aegis is, like, kind of... her body language shifts to something, like, a little more defensive, as she wasn't quite expecting the same degree of response.
Like, with the cold reading, I get like an obtain information, like one momentum that I have to spend on obtain information. For Agentia, can I read if the isolationism and xenophilia is like an inherent belief or if it's simply fear?
I would say that, like, it probably mostly comes from a traditional sensibility. Like, from what little you know or understand of her, and maybe a few supplemental notes Callus might have made, it's probably more of the sensibility of the worldview that the galaxy is a dangerous place, and there might be some reasonable good people out there, but the bulk of them don't have good intentions towards us. That's why the Space Guard needs all the funding, and that's why we need to keep these people out.
God, I hate my brain sometimes. Like, the galaxy is a dangerous place. Together, ape strong.
Yeah.
Popped into my head.
There are worse places for that to go. Words I will not echo on this. Just no.
Yeah.
It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Yeah, basically.
Graham seems to be for the record. She seems to be like listening. Still, like a mild grin to her as she listens to you. Odutan, he'll clasp his hands together and kind of place two of his fingers pursed across his lips as he listens to you. Seems quite interesting and attentive, and the general mood seems to be favorable to your pleas, at least up until the complication comes into play. I will say, Marcus, that with the commanding position that you have on the chamber here, you have a good view of them, you have a good view of the gallery, and you have a very good view of the booths, one of which illuminates. And as that does, you feel there is just a sudden power that comes over the assembled ministers. Like, there is a palpable shift, particularly for Greyhead, that just, like, body language changes completely, just like as if there's a weight on them of some sort.
I look expectantly at the light-up booth because I expect them to say something.
No such word comes round from that.
How do I listen in on thoughts?
If only. I will say though, at what is probably some degree of risk, I'm going to see whether this works out here. Callus does not think well enough of letting you know what's going on here. That being said,
can we spend momentum to get the opportunity to? That's an advantage.
I'll have Callus actually apply create the advantage by invoking one of her own values. Maybe one day there will be a brave future, but she does not know if it's this day, and certainly won't if Marcus doesn't have a good sense of what's happening. What you get in your mind, Marcus, is a slight thought of something like it's more a it tends towards your fight or flight response, and towards like the sensibility of it tends towards your flight or fight response. It also feels like it is pushing at like the thoughts that as they cohere more into something concrete, into like actual expression, feels like it carries connotations of some sort of impending not doom, but some sort of say an imposing presence would be the better phrase here. Something that is maybe felt like it was a worry that had been lingering with Callus this whole time, and might have come up in some of the earlier discussions that you've had. Something that has been persistently there. The word trouble comes to mind.
Yeah, some worst case scenario has just been triggered.
Can we notice the airbase only getting really comfortable? Like from
You notice it.
You wanna
You
see?
guys, I'm actually going to have everybody roll me a presence and command roll with, let's call this...
command or insight? Insight of command.
Well, this is more to see how much you guys feel it, because I think that their sudden arrival, first by virtue of the menacing special rule, means I'm drawing a point of threat, but I'm going to say that there's a slight composure check for everyone.
Okay. Diplomacy. Gambling.
Not quite. I'm going to say more composure or willingness to, well, something that's more like composure, control, maintaining one's calm, meditation, something of that sort.
Yeah,
I'm going to say...
I think diplomacy would be that in that nature, or gambling. Both are trying to maintain composures.
I'm going to disagree in this case because it's not quite the same sort of outward-facing way, or the captain's not quite active in
Fair
that
enough.
sense.
All right, let's go.
Cheesy, Remora, Xantar, you can also roll here. I'll ask for the checks from you as well. Presence plus command. Make sure that people aren't away here. So I didn't check that. Oh,
I am. I'm just debating because I feel like I'm gonna fail.
well,
That's okay.
But-
Failure's fun.
You make a good point.
I will.
It's-
I'll say at a base level, Marcus, you succeeded enough to earn back a point of momentum, so Shira can draw for that. That being said, just for a moment,
Hey, well done.
yay! I'm gonna say 2 meets what you would need for this. Shira, you feel like something uncomfortable, just like a weight coming down on you. It's enough probably that it registers a bit with your antennae first. Whatever droop or change in posture would suggest like some sort of inhibited sense, or like just something weighing down on you. Panda, you don't. Sharp doesn't quite feel it the same way, but like there's something that is just feels like it's pulling at threads in your mind, and like is just something about it feels fundamentally uncomfortable.
Yeah, Sharp's hand would like go to her hip, but then realize the gun's not there. Just out of instinctive response.
Yep. Going to see how Romanov does with this too. Yeah, she's particularly with the hunger issue. She's not doing too great. We'll tend to Xantar in a moment, but I'll say, Marcus, you managed to weather this as well, and with everything going
I'm
on.
back.
Yeah. Give me a composure check there, Pete. That'll be.
Sure.
I should have more threat than that. Let me fix.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You're fine.
No,
Fine.
just
It's
on
fine.
stream there.
It's a good number. In fact, it could go lower.
Oh. Actually, I'm going to note here that I just saw we have one Zyla OXO in the chat here, who is runs many a great stream, friend of the channel, also crew member of the Broken Sword. So first off, check them out just in general. They have decreased the difficulty of the role here, so yeah, with their Quatlu spend. So I'm going to say you guys weather the check just barely. Remora actually succeeds more completely, and even better, that's an extra point of momentum from Marcus.
Hey,
Momentum, excellent.
we need that.
Do I notice everyone's reaction to that?
Absolutely.
Then I would probably, after like a quick glance to the crew, raise my eyebrow a little bit and look at the three leaders and kind of like, probably more diplomatic than that, but the diplomatic, like, excuse me.
A diplomatic cough.
Yes.
Excusez-moi.
I mean, you just calmly say, "Excuse me, Madam Prime Minister." Same thing.
Kinda, yeah. Kinda non-verbal.
I see.
If that doesn't help, I'm happy to get verbal.
Yeah, you start to kind of draw them a little out of the stupor. Says, you have my apologies, Mr. Horn.
It's quite alright, Prime Minister. You have your own ways, and I kind of look up at the booth and back to them as we have ours.
There's a bit of discomfort as you glance up at the newly lit booth.
It's more like to I mean, it's very obvious, but it's like I want to reinforce I noticed some shit's going on. Not that they try to hide it particularly, but still.
No, if they were able to.
Or that, yeah. Where to go from here? Do they look like they are about to say something, or is the ball still in my court?
I think that if you would like to take the initiative and say something, whether it be to lance at this this change in situation, to hit home at something about the crew of the like Aegis, Starfleet's mission, what have you, then it's yeah, up to you there.
Yeah, then I'll just use their hesitancy and whatever happened just now to kind of just continue and kind of like, okay, listen. I'm not asking you to trust us completely, just as much as we don't trust you at all. Why would we? And why would you? We are strangers passing each other in the dark. But as with all diplomacy, with all friends when they first meet, a little trust goes a long way. And yes, look at Agensha. There are risks involved in that. There are risks in everything. There are risks in doing something just as much as there are risks in doing nothing. There's risks in trusting us a little, and maybe not opening the door, but just being prepared that someone knocks occasionally and just asking how you are. Caring for you. And maybe you care how they are. But there are also risks in not doing anything. Keeping your doors and your fences locked. And then find yourself alone when someone very unpleasant comes along. So if you have doubts, if you have particular issues with us, with the situation, just let me try to dispel them. Ask me what you want to know. Ask me what you need to know. And I kind of want to look back up at the booth, but I think I try not to. Like, I'm not sure what the relation here is, like what kind of influence that is, but yeah, I don't like that they're probably talking without me being able to listen at all. I don't like that at all. I hate it.
Can I insight the council now that Horn is talking again? I know they are shaken up, but are they actually still listening, or has a decision already been made by somebody?
I would say, based on what you know, well, you could probably discern something about that. Give me an insight and command roll, and I'm just going to set this to a difficulty. I'm going to set it to a difficulty of 4 on this instead of having a contested roll here.
Jeez. All right.
There are, despite your understanding of what's going on, there are layers to this that it would be hard for you to pick up.
I assist that
I'll say
by
that
having
Marcus
taken
is,
back the initiative?
yeah, Marcus is creating an opening for you, so he can assist too. I'll say, Captain, you may roll command plus insight. Marcus, you may either use insight or you can use presence as an attribute instead.
I'm gonna buy a momentum die, so I get a 3. Gambling and diplomacy. Either work.
I'll say diplomacy probably works best here.
Okay. And then, man, my rolls have been crappy as hell. But you said 4. Sure. Let's just make a roll and see how it goes. And then I get to reroll that 1 because I'm cautious. Ooh, nice.
Hey.
Right.
Hey.
Okay, so, Captain, with Marcus's assist there, that gives you 5 successes. The difficulty was 4, so you gain back the point of momentum that you had to expend.
Mm-hmm.
So that should mean that we are holding at 5 on the counter there. There's a sense that someone, like, if you understand the way that you understand the telepathy of the Veldonnans, chances are that somebody of considerable skill and ability has stepped in and is perhaps putting their thumb on the scale here. There may be someone who is less warm to the idea of this. Exactly who or what that means is... I think that it creates some... I think that it... let's see how to put this here. That someone very much has an inclination one way or the other, and probably not in a friendly direction from what you are picking up. This effort, whatever this presence was, it seems to have done most to bolster Aegis, as opposed to the other 2 ministers.
But it's a thumb, not a full hand or fist, right? On the scale. It's tilted in... blah, blah. More weighted against, but not necessarily completely off the scale, as or you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. We still have a chance, just harder now.
Yep. So, with that being said, but with Marcus's appeal in particular, I'm going to do 1 roll purely for fluff purposes to see whether... Well, I'm not going to take any threat on the basis of this, but I'm going to see whether quite what I would want to see for that type of influence here. See, the relatively quiet minister says, "Oh, Mr. Horn, there's been obviously you come from a difficult place in what is difficult times. We too have heard rumblings of what has happened between Vulcan and Andoria, and indeed word has made it from other parts of the very near conflicts you have been in yourself, with the Tellarites. There is even word of some distant force of the Zindi, and there are other ever-present struggles with the Orions, the Klingons, with other threats all about, some much close to home, the Tandarans, the Sulaban, and their, well, more so their cabal than the actual, people themselves, scattered as they are at this day and age. Your people seem to be new to these parts and to galactic affairs, and you seem to be carving out a new approach, but the others have tried similar things in the past. They have hardened. They have become different. In some cases, they retrenched and became quieter, concerned with their own affairs. Others, more overarching and imperial as they became more involved in the galaxy. You want us to accept humanity as someone that could be friendly. Tell me, what do you think will make your people's journey to the stars different? What path do you think you walk, and what do you think can redeem them from the troubles of their own past?
Well, I leave the broader part of your questions for the philosophers, but the more direct parts I will try my best to give my perspective. Don't know if it's an answer or not, or the answer you're looking for. What's our role? What's humanity's role? I don't know. Do we have a role? We simply do what we've always done. Strive forward. How we will change everyone else? I don't think we will. What I do know is that there is one thing that is poison to an established order. And that is something new. And we are new. We come onto the stage and we are not burdened with a history of animosity with anyone. And even if we were, yesterday's enemies are tomorrow's friends. That's what I inherently believe. And you can ask any human if they believe that or not. Some will say yes, some will say no. But as a whole, that's how life works. And I'm sure that we all can find a way to work together. Now, maybe we don't become the best of them. But you don't have to be friends with your neighbor. You know him. And it's fine. If you're expecting me to say that we have like a grand role to play in this intergalactic dance of diplomacy. Wouldn't that be fantastic? But I don't know. I have no idea how this all shakes out. I don't know who the initiators of any sort of what do you want to call it, an alliance, or I don't know. There's probably a better word for it, but it doesn't come to me right now. But we will see when the time comes. We all go our individual paths, and we see if we can walk at least parts of that path together. And I, for one, would love to walk in parts, at least, with your people. I think there's a lot to learn, a lot to share.
If those would be your thoughts, Marcus, then I will give you the opportunity for one additional roll of Presence plus Command. I will say that the influence of whatever is present here is not allowing for the additional D20 here.
Yeah. Is the complication range still increased, or is that back to normal?
That I will set back to normal here.
Okay. Determination is
You
gone.
can create an advantage and remove the resistance or something.
Resistance should be down as well, since we have a breakthrough, right? Should be by 2? Or was
So
that a difficulty that
it's the
goes down?
difficulty that decreases. Resistance actually has been affected by the complication already. Which I will say that resistance
I'm just
has
giving you a
gone.
reminder if we can. Sorry. Go ahead.
Resistance has gone up by 3, so it is
By
not a total
3?
There is the complication, and the impact of the bringer of said complication is considerable here. Your cold reading talent will help you with some of that, should you succeed.
Yeah. What did you want to say, Anna?
Just a reminder that we have the ability to create advantages, because I know we forget that a lot.
Yeah, what can we do with an advantage? Can we bring the resistance kind of back down, or
No, but you can remove complications with advantages.
Hmm. Yeah, but it doesn't negate the complication already on the board, right?
Well, you could
Or-
you could attempt to spend momentum to negate that complication after a fashion here. I'm not opposed to it prior to the roll here.
I mean, we could create an advantage, kinda, that people are thinking. Like, even if someone is putting their thumb on the scale, that doesn't stop them from thinking and maybe being swayed.
I think your speeches have encouraged the spirit discovery, and why couldn't the Veldonnans have that spirit, even if it has been subdued as of late? You're tempting them with a
essentially, yeah.
brighter future and better friendships, and not necessarily luxuries, but wonders that are out there. We just have to look. They have to look.
Yeah, something along those lines. Kind of actually. Even if someone puts their thumb on the scale, that doesn't like stop people thinking or dreaming. Even.
So I guess the question is, mechanically speaking, what would you want to do with that in pitch advantage?
Can we just counteract the increased resistance? Is that too much? Is that too little?
Or maybe just counter the ability, the removal of adding dice.
All right, wait. So,
Who chose this?
Because we're not allowed to add dice right now, right?
well,
Because
I
of-
didn't give you a bonus D20. It was
Yeah,
from
no,
Mark's
it was just the
description.
the bonus D20. We don't get like the automatic bonus one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, reduce the resistance or maybe reduce the difficulty.
Resistance, I
think-
would say resistance 6 is a lot. If we can get that down, that would help already significantly.
I'll reduce. I'll cut in half the increase, so resistance will still be up to 4 with that.
Okay,
For
I'll
that,
take it.
that's what I'm willing to accept for an advantage there. So that'd be 2 points of momentum. I think technically that is that only calls on one of the points you have in your pool.
Here,
the streamer
I
Seeker's
will-
5.
I will use my determination through Spirit of Discovery because I think that's the most apt point. So there we go.
Explain just a little. Explain a little more clearly for the
Spirit
audience.
Discovery, I do believe, gives me. I can convert a determination. Let me look at it. You have the drive, spirit, and courage to voyage to the unknown. You may spend 1 determination to add 3 points of group momentum to the pool. The normal conditions apply. Spending determination still applies.
What value would you be invoking then?
Sorry, I have a lot of things open. Where is my thingamabob? It's up here, right? Yeah, it's up here. Living through my life, I realized what I missed. Freaking, I'm seeing the groundwork for something greater, and how much it can change. How much I don't need to push it myself. Other people already have that idea. It's doing it on its own.
I'll allow that then. So that'll give you 3 points of momentum, compared to what you should have been starting from. I think 5 already. So
Yeah.
2 of those points would go away for 2 of those incoming points would go away for the advantage. So that should. Well, I'm going to list it back here. Those 3 points will.
And then
And I'll buy a third die.
Okay. So that should be 5.
and I get it back.
Okay. So Sharp gets back determination. The momentum pool should be at 5. I'll just deal that out to you real quick here. Wait, sorry, Craig. I'll just take that.
Damn.
Okay, at 5 successes, let us see how that will do. The ministers will roll once again. They will be assisted this time by the presence and command of some other individual presently not on the board here. So let's see. That'll be. Oh dear, that's no good.
Ooh.
I think that I've got to call on the character who is intervening here to spend their value.
No, they don't have to.
My will is a force unto itself. Okay, now there's actual successes on the board.
I will call on my value to negate that.
Your value is gone. Oops, that's supposed to only be a single D20. Try that again there. Okay. That is 3 successes to your 5 there, so you gain 2.
Do I get an assist from Sharp?
Not in this case, no.
Ah, damn it.
No, because I wasn't doing anything.
Yep.
The
That would have
only
been.
thing I was doing is mechanical stuff. So
Yeah,
Yep.
fair.
Yep.
Um,
So Marcus, you succeed. You may roll your challenge dice once again. You have.
spam it. Kill the resistance and just spam it.
Well, your cold reading talent still applies. So as you approach the work track, It is. Actually, I realized I was.
1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just see how this goes. Ugh.
Well, with the scrutinize talent in play, or rather the effect in play, that's still at least 1 point of resistance being cut down. You can re-roll your dice pool for a point of momentum, because that is only 4 points of work right now.
Yeah, I would reroll 4 of those die
We have a lot, so
Okay.
because
spend
that's
and then you can
garbage.
and then you can reduce resistance too. Resistance as well.
Well,
For one,
the
one
cold
for every 2.
the cold reading is coming into play here, so
Oh,
that's
right.
Yep, with the re-roll there, that is another 4 points of work, including 2 effects. So 3 points of resistance are being cut out, with 6 total work. Ignoring 3 of those points, that is actually 5 points of work. And from where you
another
are,
breakthrough.
2 actually, because you were at 7 out of 12 last time. With those 5 points, you both complete the work track, which counts as a breakthrough, but 5 points, much like causing a breach with a weapon, with an attack, or causing an injury in a ground combat situation, 5 is the magic number, basically, to cause to achieve the breakthrough, basically. So, with that, you've actually met the conditions of the work track and the magnitude, and you can see that there's some reticence among some, but there is an openness. And as the Prime Minister is scrutinizing your words on her own, Odutan chimes in. Madam Chair, I'd say we have much interesting to consider here, but I do think that they have borne themselves with all the honesty that they can in this situation. Perhaps discretion would allow for a debate. Motion to shift proceedings to closed discussion and to excuse our guests. Though there's a great deal of uncertainty, she calls out that there's been a motion to shift to closed debate. Is there a second? After a moment's hesitation, one comes out from the chamber and she says, "The chair will entertain that motion at this time. The distinguished guests and others may be dismissed at this time. We will proceed to discuss here. Ask that those outside of the council please clear the chamber." And just like that, with your work concluded on that point, Horn, they begin to shuffle everyone out of the chamber. Callus will be waiting near the nearest Sharp and the other side there, but you are allowed to step down from your platform. You see on the other end of the hall that the illuminated but curtained balcony that had come up during your speech has just, as this happens, it turns off, suggesting that whoever was there is preparing to leave.
Is there any way to see a face or something, or is it just like not?
You can make out a silhouette through there of someone rising.
I'm going to diplomatically, but at great speed, and start making us try and say, "Excuse me," and I'm gonna try to intercept this person to see what they look like.
Let's see. Would the rest of you like to try and follow the captain here?
I would like to assist in moving people out of the way.
Yeah, I'm moving along with the captain.
I gotcha. Marcus, are you following?
Yeah, because I have no idea what the plan here is, and I'm concerned.
Fair enough. As you try to angle your way out the chamber, Callus has a bit of a worried face, but she'll still trying to put forward her best expression. She'll say, "Well, I think that went relatively well."
Well, from what you told me, as well as can be expected.
As you exit the darkened central chamber, the inner sanctum of the council, and move into the broader, rounded section. Captain, I'll say that you notice that there's a staircase that appears on sort of an end further to, I'd say probably a little further to the left, like in the direction that you had originally been going before you turned into the chamber. It seems fairly ornate and ceremonial, and there are a couple of the quote-unquote peacekeepers that appear to be in a different sort of ceremonial guard. So,
Okay.
insight would tell you that's where the important person is.
Cool. She'll slow down and look to her crew and say,
Like, Captain, slight alarm tone. It's like, what are you doing?
"I don't like shadows in the background," she says quietly. I want to have a brief look,
Why?
just to make sure that it isn't a shadow that we're familiar with.
Why would it be a shadow we're familiar with? Who could it be? Who could it? It's gonna be just a Veldonnan. Doesn't really matter what they look like.
Maybe.
I have to say, Captain, I really would not advise this. Callus says, it's it's very difficult to discuss here, but while our government is democratically elected and has does have sovereign control over everything we do, there's still considerable sway from the nobility, and that it's not it is not a force I would suggest dealing with. And before she can finish her sentence, I'd say that the words just kind of stop cold in her mouth, and anyone else that might have been filing out of the hallways very quickly makes their way, like, around. So it is practically you in an empty chamber, the peacekeepers standing in, like, the strictest, sharpest relief, and coming down the steps. A woman clad in relatively muted tones, very conservative dress from from head to waist, very elaborate.
Conservative for humans or conservative for
Veldonnans, really humans as well. That there are the dress, the wearer alternates between very simple and ornate in very muted, deep, cool colors that you could probably distinguish some cyan, some deep purple, a few accents of gold here and there, but nothing so bright as to be meant to catch the eye of someone. And indeed, you feel like you don't want to catch this person's eye. As they step down, they cast a cold glance in your direction. Callus bows her head. Supreme Matriarch, it is an honor.
She bows as well.
I don't know that any of you, even in the media that you would have consumed, would have had any exposure to information on one Supreme Matriarch Nera as she steps down. That she is an older woman in deeply conservative dress, and one who casts a glance towards you that feels like a withering stare.
I am polite, but I am holding my ground.
Proxina, you may dispense with the courtesy. Return to your duties. My shuttle will be taking me back to Rix. Callus, noticeably inches back a little bit. I'm going to ask not for a vibe check, but for a thought check here. Any surface reactions to this person?
Yes. Remora is focusing a lot on her elegance and posture, seeing her as a public figure, and also being able to not show emotion with her underlings and with everybody else around her. Remora sees that as an admirable trait for a leader, and is focusing on that and her elegance.
Anyone else particular thought or reaction coming to mind?
My thoughts are of certainly not respect, but yeah, it's respect. It's a deferred respect, and certainly a mild curiosity, but mostly just focusing on she might be a current antagonist in the moment, and I'm going to hold my ground regardless. I'm not going to bend the knee, as a word. Well, bending the knee, but I'm not going to cower, is what it is. There we go. I'm not going to buckle under her presence.
I see. So you'd
I
struggle
think
to...
Xanto would just give a polite bow.
And run away.
Yes.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
I'm sorry, matriarch. Our diplomat is scarpered.
But before I get you, Marcus, Shira, how are you doing with this, strong presence here?
Shira's probably wondering about the title. Was it Supreme Matriarch?
Yes.
She's probably wondering, is that a democratically elected position, or is this some hereditary nonsense?
Before we even get to Marcus's thoughts, she will actually just reply to you, Shira. The titles that I have acquired in my years tie not just to my parentage and relevance within the fifth house of Beta Z, but also in feats of meritocracy. We are not so primitive as cultures that simply pass down power foolishly from descendant to descendant. We appreciate talent. We understand the value of contribution. As such, many of the titles I bear, be they of keeping of the sacred chalice of Rix, of status of nobility and respect, are accorded to me through my deeds, and I will not have that doubted by any outsider. She stares directly at you, Shira. Any such doubt would come and put you on what I believe would be very thin ice.
Consider my doubts gone. And Shira will smile.
No. Marcus, you get the sense, in part from Callus's anxiety and from her very from what you would guess was a very restrained performance for Shira, that this supreme matriarch Nera is undoubtedly the person kind of behind all that, or behind the shift here. What was your surface thinking as we came in?
Well, I think Marcus thinks back on what he literally just said, is that yesterday's enemies are tomorrow's friends, and it's time to put my money where my mouth is. And kind of go, Supreme Matriarch, I apologize if I do not observe proper etiquette that I'm unaware of, but would you allow me the opportunity to discuss the doubts you have about the possible direction the decision is taking? And I kind of thinking very much like, since you believe in deeds as much as in merit.
She'll narrow her eyes as she looks at you and stare off at the middle distance for a moment. Leave us. The guards begin to take some steps back. Callus also begins to back off, and she very subtly nudges everyone else here that this is best left between her and Marcus.
Yeah.
Yep, cool.
I don't know if that's like a scene. I don't know how much she is like even to be swayed at all. But
There's
however much time she gives me.
Just to say, Xantar will sort of pat Marcus on the shoulder as he's leaving and say, "Good luck."
Oh,
Pressure.
have fun, Marcus. Shira smiles. She actually is quite pleased with how that encounter went.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, someone just got a bit of spine. Good, excellent.
Oh, and Xantar will quickly sanitize his hands as he just like.
The captain just gives you like a silent eye of approval, Marcus. She doesn't need to say anything. She knows you have it.
I'm thinking, very much aware that she hears me. It's like everyone has something to say before they go.
Well, it's last words with the condemned man.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the sum up is don't fuck it up.
Yeah. Also, I don't know how much that will depend on roles, but I will keep a very stern rein on my thoughts until further developments.
Yeah.
All I can say is thank God Shira hadn't been anywhere near Sydney Harbour, because she'd be thinking, my God, that's the Sydney Opera House on top of her head.
I know that building. We have so much in common. Yeah.
There's the lights coming off it.
Okay, so guards have left. The rebel has left as well. Would he suit, or should we walk?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
Would he suit, or should we walk?
Um,
I don't want to keep you any longer than necessary. You have important business to attend, I'm sure.
my shuttle will take some time to prepare. You will have that time to persuade me, such that you believe you can.
Well, I would call it persuade, but maybe soften the opinion, perhaps. And it's like very much like a friendly smile. Since we are both honest. What? And let's continue with the honesty that is so against all protocols I've been taught, but What are you afraid of? It's like she's probably seen in his thoughts like how to phrase that question more elegantly, but there isn't really a good way that he found, so he just goes straight in.
Yeah. Perhaps with that insight, she like she doesn't quite buckle in the same way, or she doesn't. She is not bothered so much by her phrasing there.
Yeah, it's not an aggressive what you're afraid of, but like what are your concerns about all of this in a very straightforward question, just like.
I understand why the diplomatic office tried to bring you into the situation. Why there were those who thought that you might be the ones to change, but our society, for as long as we have had warp travel and a broader understanding of the galaxy around us, and of how different they are, how different their priorities are, and even when their priorities are high-minded, an understanding of the underhanded ways that underhanded techniques of the baser methods and motives that they will adopt in favor of survival, but even more so for power. I don't doubt that you think that your ship is here out simply to come to know the galaxy, and that humanity is but taking its first steps. But in the years that we have observed these peoples, I've seen so much into the thoughts of others, into the thoughts of those that have encountered them, and I know that well below any veneer there is base greed, there's anger, there is a desire for all to dominate. And there is always that base level thought that you must do so first, otherwise you will come to naught. That is what has happened with every encounter with those we have had who came here, such as yourselves.
So we're all out for ourselves first.
Do you dispute that?
No. I would say use it. Take from us what you can. Take from everyone what they can. And they take from you what they can.
The cost of that will come too heavily at my people, for our culture, for those who know, when they find out what we are capable of.
Well, culture-wise, what would have the people of 100 years ago said to that, to you right now? What you've done to their culture? 200 years? 500? 1,000? Things change. It's not good or bad. They just do. And, well, the other point is more tricky. You will certainly face prejudices, fear. There's nothing I can say against that. But you will also find those who are accepting. And some norms have to be established, as I mentioned before, and at least humans are quite fond of their secrets. Even though it would do a lot of them quite good to not keep them quite as prevalent in their mind if they want to keep them that much. But that is not going to change only because you isolate yourself. In fact, that fear might become greater the longer you stay away, the longer everyone else interacts with the outside. Again, there's a cost to doing something and there's a cost to doing nothing. Always the hardest decision to know when to do which.
Nara turn like where she has been standing in a position only to like facing slightly away from you, only just casting a glance with the turn of her neck now brings herself to where she is completely facing you and clasps her hands behind her back. Wise words. But I wonder whether they are not spoken from a place of ignorance and detachment, on of a more academic nature, shall we say. We, my people, we may be isolated from the rest of the galaxy, but we understand each other. We know our thoughts, we understand our feelings, and we have shared our experiences together. I do not merely base my worldview on on prejudices of times past, but I know of the ugliness which those that have gone out into space and those that have encountered visitors to this world. I've seen all that they present. I have the experience of that nature. You stand before me making these pleas to trust and to take such a gamble with my people's lives, that you would stand so closed. What can you understand of the burden of responsibility, of the shape of how people would treat this with so limited a perspective as your own? You may, well, judging by the touch of aging afar, people are similar, she says, gesturing to the slight bit of gray in his beard. I do not doubt you come here with some worldliness or that of experience beyond the stars, but I have seen experiences from those older than I that shared their time, and I have shared the experiences of those who have gone out and seen what else there is. Do you think
There's probably a long mental silence as well, because the thoughts Marcus is having are very withdrawn. I don't know if that bothers her or not.
I suspect she can at least tell that he is, trying to delve deeper within himself, if not what he is thinking.
Well, I know a little bit of your plight. There's something, and I kind of look in the direction where everyone has gone. I assume they've gone out of sight as well and not just lingering there at the corner.
Yes, this is meant to be. Everyone was cleared out. Callus kind of guided you well around the corner, well out of earshot, well out of sight.
I kind of look after everyone. There is something I'm hiding from my fellow crew members. From essentially everyone I ever met. For as long as I can remember. Granted, my secret is a bit perhaps easier to hide in some ways than your abilities. In other ways, it's just as difficult.
as with
So,
oh god.
And he is very contemplative because he doesn't know. Like for the first time, if she's been, I don't know for how long she has been like keeping tabs on him, so to speak. But this is like the first time he doesn't really have a plan on how to proceed. So it's like, I don't know what I could say to convince you of that. But I'm familiar with your fear. And it's justified. I will never tell you that it's not. There are dangers out there. And there are dangers to your people in going out there. But what I found is that those that isolate themselves, the outside world comes to them at some point. Isolation will always end, one way or another. And I look at her like, kind of like, with a like an apologetic grin. It's like, it's not a threat, please understand. But that's what my experience tells me. And it's better to do it on your terms. And whoever comes knocking that you can't ignore.
She raises her chin slightly and scrutinizes your face a little further. They did say you were interesting.
Can I get a read on her? Like, is she convincible, and kind of what kind of push would she need?
I will...
That's like kind of what I try to read.
In place of a roll, I will offer an advantage here, and I will say that this... you may remember a ways back the talk of something with vague discussions of imagery and thoughts at some point earlier in this. She will make the offer to say, I cannot quite read you the same way I can discern the others. Well, all except for that captain, but that is a different, deeply unpleasant matter. Indeed, if I were to exile her to the other end of the planet, I do not know if that would be far enough for that deep sense of wrongness that she compels. It's looking at her as if to see the face and but know that it is not a match. It is not right. To you, however, there is something else. Something that speaks to a different experience. You still see some way out, or you think your years would give you some path beyond this place. Well, very well. I have my experiences, and you have yours. If you can share with me your perspective, I will share with you mine. And we will see who comes away, but ultimately convinced.
Share my perspective? You mean why I'm so sure that my proposal is the right one? Or what do you propose?
What I propose goes beyond that. Those that, the crudest way to place it would be sharing of understanding, of thought. At least in some vague sense, the expression beyond what our words can simply provide. I'll say that I'll clarify here, it's not exactly a mind meld that she's thinking of, but sort of an opening of one's minds and kind of still an exchange of thoughts. I will say that you don't have to word any explicit things and that you may still guard some sort of secrets, but if you want to conjure, like, any sort of scene, some expression, this would be, like, a means of doing so. Something that you think could direct her in a certain way. If that's kind of beyond the zone of comfort, then...
No, it's like... He certainly looks at her face, searching for a while. Well, I hope you're good at keeping secrets.
And with that, she will level her stare. And simply the invitation. With the promise. If I can trust you to keep mine, then I shall trust that you can trust me to keep that which is yours.
A fair trade. I accept.
And so, let's see. We'll call this, with 2 of the momentum in the pool, let's open this advantage up. I will even go so far as to, I will reciprocate her. I will open this off with 2 threat to channel her connection, and sort of the arrays of vague concepts, memories, and other things which emerge. You, Felix, Marcus sees before him a variety of strange sensations that cohere to various senses. Various scents, be they the sterile smell of a starship that is presently trying to avoid a confrontation of very humid meeting rooms where leaders were trying to argue out disagreements of people that other Betas or Veldonnans, that other Veldonnans may have encountered, since that would conjure to mind, say, Klingons or the others who became stranded here, Orions, thoughts as well of them, of looks of desperation, rage, pronouncements of conquest. One particular Tandaran gentleman in haggard military outfit protesting over the situation before being dismissed. Even at a time, the logical onslaught of a Vulcan trying to argue their case and being turned away for knowledge that beneath their depths there was some great rage and arrogance about it, about what had been happening to them, and the thoughts of what the High Command would ultimately do here. There are the countless recountings and sensibilities of a galaxy that is more broadly as the Veldonnans became more and more aware of it, that there is a dark undercurrent to them. There is a sense of resignation and of trepidation the more that they come to learn. There are the thoughts and fears of what it would look like if one were to be let free of the base motives of those they've kept captive, that a Klingon that left this place might one day bring back one of their houses to raid and pillage the world, that those like the Orions or the Enolians would try to exploit the powerful empathy which their people possess. There are the thoughts and fears of a time long past of warlords who sought to use these methods in a way that could have greatly threatened others and allowed their domination. It was hard fought, the way that they ultimately escaped this, and that their society evolved into what it is today. But there is a fear that reversion would come with that openness, that same exploitation, greed, and craving for power that is being talked about here. That is the danger of introducing others who are not so well acquainted to what they are and what they experienced.
Fun for the whole family.
Indeed.
So, what exactly is the message I want to convey? That I don't misunderstand that.
I think
Like, is it that I understand their general plight, or that change is good, or
I think
that we are decent folk?
Yeah, I think that she's kind of like part of it. I think going to credibility, she's looking a bit to. She thinks that you are different in some way, and acknowledgement of secrets you may keep does at least suggest that there could be something that would speak to that character and credibility. So she might be looking for, without explicitly saying anything, she might be looking for some sort of semblance of experience of your own. As far as like how you feel you can trust people on the outside, which could range from any sort of out group coming together. That could be how, like, you see how the crew's taken shape in different ways. It might also be like,
okay.
if you think that there's a fundamental decency that she just isn't seeing here. I'll open
Okay.
this up if other people want to put it.
I think I know how to approach this. Like, I'm going to approach this if I were to film it in a movie.
Give us the montage.
And yeah, it's it's basically probably a couple of weeks ago on the Aegis, where Marcus is doing like one of the rounds he always does, like speaking with crew members everywhere, and it's like just snippets of like crew members, and it's very obvious that everyone is very different. Like, he reports to a captain who is significantly younger than him. The second officer is not even a human, and also very much younger than him. And so many people from the ship and comes across them are just like wildly different backgrounds, and some of them have like no background in any kind of science or aviation or anything, but they're still there. And we have a bunch of aliens, more than Star Trek TNG could ever afford in their makeup department. And kind of like everyone is still working together and still kind of dealing with their differences. And even when conflict breaks out, kind of it's dealt with without it escalating, etc. And between these like wanderings around the ship is a very solemnly kind of Marcus walking around the house that got destroyed. And it's like full of just full of his life. And you see like pictures from recently, some of them with a smiling dark-haired woman, which is immediately followed by like a stab of pain and loss. But not in every picture. And kind of as he walks around like the house, like jerkily as like different scenes interject, it's like the pictures get older. And some of them like from clearly wartime, after wartime, from before that. But they get progressively older until you get to like black and white pictures. And every picture is different people. Again, sometimes the same woman, and sometimes someone who looks suspiciously like Marcus. Different hairstyles, different clothes, but still kind of the same person. And this goes all the way back to like aged and probably several times restored paintings of figures that also Marcus. Different time periods, and goes back, and it's like this. Every image is accompanied by the feeling of an entire life left behind. It's not entirely lived, but it's left behind. Because he has to leave the life before it becomes obvious that he isn't aging like everyone else. And there are instances, like memories that intersect that, where he gets like accused or even chased by people who found out or think they found out or just found him creepy or suspicious, and he has to like leave in a hurry. But it's like every new life is a new journey, a new joy to find. It's like even if his fears are confirmed at points, the trust he extends is rewarded more often than it's disappointed. And I think that's it.
Yeah. And as the memories spill through and you find yourself standing back in this empty corridor, she casts her eyes down, pondering over over the thoughts. I do not know if I shall ever fully appreciate that semblance of reward, or if I will ever truly be able to shake that sensibility. But there are so many tomorrows ahead. Maybe this will have to change.
There will always be tomorrow. You're right to be careful. You're right to be afraid. But fear should never rule you. And it's the care for your people that will make sure that you do the best to keep them safe.
As she scrunches her glare and furrows her brow. And perhaps without my influence here, they will allow you that. I will respect whatever their decision may be. I will not stop what they have to do. She glances a little off to the side. I feel without it, I do not believe you will stay here long.
Well, I'm sad to leave. I look forward to New Horizon.
New horizons viewed from more distant shores than I will ever see.
You could visit Earth. Safe place as any in these times.
She'll shake her head. No. My place is with my house and with this world. Turbulent as the times are, and with that glimpse you've provided me, now is not the time for me, but maybe for others. She turns around.
Supreme Matriarch,
She'll stop.
thank you for listening.
Safe journeys, clear skies, and glancing over her shoulder. Her expression still, deeply furrowed, as if she is, contemplating something. But pulling from other phrases in your past, may the wind be at your back.
And at yours.
And she will turn and walk away. And in that moment, Marcus, you will have known that, as bears out in the coming days, that your exile here on Veldonnan is a short-lived one. That the council will come to pass, and they will approve your appeal. That the crew of the Aegis will be allowed to depart this world. That, as with so many other times, your faith will be validated, and the experiences that you are greeted with here will add some bit of richness. And just for a moment, you will have felt that there is the sharing of some other understanding, of something just a little deeper. And I think that that is the point where we are going to end today's session. So, hope that everybody here in the archive enjoyed that. I'll also apologize, things are a little abrupt. We have just, we've passed a bit further past time than I realized, but we also started a little later. So I don't want to keep anyone later. For those of you in the archive, though, if you ever want to catch this live, then feel free to join us Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And yeah, feel free to drop it. For those here in the archive, this is where we will sign off. So we will see you later. Okay, and that is where we are going to cap off stream as well. So very quickly, just wanted to say thank you all for stopping in. Thanks for chatting. Zyla, thanks for dropping the Quatlu spend there. And by all means, any of you that want to catch up